What is up, fantasy sweaters? Happy Monday to you. The NFL week is almost over. One more game in the books. But for all you DK main slaters out there, it is over. And I hope you had a good week in all your cash games, all your tournaments, all your season long, all your best ball. Hope it was a good week. Interesting week with the weather. We just, we were all flummoxed from the beginning. So in this show, we are going to run down a lot very quickly. We are going to we're going to do a cash game review. We're going to, as I always do, show you my cash teams, where I went wrong, where I went right. Man, the cash week was weird this week because I won money, but I played a lot of bad plays. But some of the plays saved me, so that was good. We're going to do a quick look, kind of a review of some of the top players in DFS and how they approach 20 entry max lineups. We're going to look at the $3 20 entry max over on DraftKings just to see, since most people who probably take in this contest are just kind of either average or like low stakes. And, don't take that the wrong way. I mean, I play low stakes. I would call it low to mid stakes, I guess. But, we don't have any sharks watching. So we're all trying to get better. So we should learn from some of the top players. So we're going to review Utica and Hishbo, however you pronounce that. Two of the top NFL DFS players that are out there. We're going to review their lineups in the $3 20 entry max. Just to, so you can see maybe how to start approaching these from a macro level. We are going to look at results on Underdog because that is something that we are starting to take very serious. We're doing a video every week talking about the Underdog slate. I'm going to show you just how I finished on Underdog, and then we are going to do a review for tonight's game. Underdog has a game, $7 entry. I forget all the. It's a big tournament, so jump in. I mean, it's not as it's not massive, but there's definitely some shekels available over on Underdog, and I think there is an advantage to today's slate. I will show you my rankings, and if we can get in a live draft, we will as well, although at 9:40 in the morning, I'm not sure how many people are going to be getting in those drafts, but we'll see if we can sign up for one, and if we can slide in, we'll do a live one. All right, let's kick it over to DraftKings, where we're looking at the NFL Massive $25 double up single entry. As you can see, I did win that. I'm sitting here. Never mind. I took home, the $50 in that, $25 to get in. In my lineup, there's a lot of snowflakes. You can already see two of them if you're watching on YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube, go over there and give us a follow so you can watch and see how this goes. I know the shows are getting harder and harder because I am doing these. I'm showing my screen, and I'm on YouTube, so a lot of times I'm pointing things out. And if you're a podcast person, I understand you might not be understanding exactly what I'm pointing out. Trying to do a good job of articulating what it is I'm talking about exactly, even if it's something on a screen. So back to the cash game play. I won most of my cash games. I profited pretty well with these. And all I'd say I lost about 10 head-to-head matchups, but I was in more than 30. So, won those, won all my double-ups. And here is the big one. So I played Jimmy Garoppolo. I was going back and forth on him and Russ. I mean, Mahomes probably would have been the best play. But everyone was looking at Garoppolo and Russ, so that was really what I was grappling with. It was, do I play Russ and then have to not get one of these running? It was basically sacrifice Kamara, or one of my receivers, one of my high end receivers, which I should have done, but I decided to go with Kamara. He was just in a game script that I liked, so you can't see that yet. But I don't know what's with the slow reveal. Like, is this all you can see is that I rostered Garoppolo and Hunt. So I went with him. He scored 2 .76 points. Yes, I'm going to take those .76 points and make sure I mention those. Let's slide this over a little bit on YouTube so you can see a little better. Played Kareem Hunt. He was another snowflake. 9.3 fantasy points. I thought he was in a tremendous spot. Cleveland just could not move the ball. They could not score. They could not get to the red zone. This total was, I mean, it came down because it was a win game. But, man, this total just kept plummeting, and it certainly did not reach expectations. Played Jamal Williams. I was questioning him early in the week. Even on the First Look podcast, or the First Look show, I think I remember saying I don't know if I'll be playing Jamal Williams because he was an obvious play at 4K or whatever he was last week, but now he's 6,100. Is that really worth it? And with the win game, I figured okay, well, he's probably going to get a few more attempts. He's going to possibly get some dump offs, and he got there in a game that's pretty high total considering it was the worst win situation we had. I can't believe Devontae Adams got what he did considering the win. I mean, it's just an all-time season for him. But yeah, Jamal Williams, 23 receiving yards, 75 rushing yards, 6 receptions, and a 1-2 point. What is that? Did he get a 2-point conversion? Is that what that was? Is that what that means? I don't know what 1-2 point means, but I assume that means he got a 2-point conversion. So he was a good play. He got there, nothing crazy. He doesn't have a flame. So he didn't surpass expectations, but he got there. Played Tyler Lockett. I was on Team DK, pretty much all week, and had way more exposure to DK Metcalf in my tournaments because he's just the guy I liked. Considering everyone was on Lockett because of the big 50-point game. But I knew everyone was going to Tyler Lockett, and he'd be a good block. If I played him and he didn't get there, it wasn't a terrible move. As you can see, he was 22% owned. Kareem Hunt, 72% owned. That's part of the reason that I was able to actually do pretty well considering my score, 123.86, which you can't see just yet, but. Considering that score it's a decent score because I had some other people help me get there. You're not seeing them yet, outside of Jamal Williams, who helped me out. But yeah, Tyler Lockett. I just knew that I couldn't get up to DK for one because of the pricing with everything else I did. So I landed on him. I wanted pieces of that San Francisco-Seattle game, so I decided to take Garoppolo so I could get up to a guy like Lockett. So I didn't have to go with, Brandon Ayuk was on my on the list. Bourne, I was thought about paying down for. But and if I would have done that instead of going with, Lockett, I could have. Well, I would have had to sacrifice this next guy, which is Keenan Allen, who definitely helped me get there. One receiving touchdown, 67 receiving yards, 9 receptions, 21.7 fantasy points. Got the fire. Helped me get to winning here in cash games. And so I would have had to, let's just go ahead and reveal my receiver there. So played 3 receivers, Lockett, Keenan Allen, Braxton Berrios. Who was I paying down for? I was considering Bourne, and he would have been the better play. So if I would have played Bourne here, he was a little more. No, they were the exact same price. But basically, I wanted a high-end guy, so I went with, I was able to get to Lockett with Garoppolo. So I had kind of a high-end guy, mid-range, but really good value with Keenan Allen and then Braxton Berrios. When everybody else was on probably Denzel Mims. As you can see, Berrios was only 4.1% owned. Mims probably had a much higher rate than that and didn't score as many points. Went with Jonnu Smith, who also let me down. I thought was in a really good spot. I thought Tennessee was going to win this game. I thought Tennessee was going to score a bunch of points, and they didn't. They scored 20 points, but Jonnu Smith not a part of that. Went with Alvin Kamara, another back and forth on, Hunt, Williams, Kamara, Henry. Those are the plays in cash this week at the running back position. I mean, there was really nothing else that you should have been debating. Those were the play. Now, you can say, like, oh, but Dalvin Cook had, like, and I get it. Like, Dalvin Cook was in a really good spot. I didn't see why he was as low owned. And with the wind games, you want to put that into – but all the guys I played were in win games, too. I assumed that the Vikings would be playing from behind. Look, I love Dalvin Cook. He was once I finagled things in my final builds for tournaments, he was my number one owned running back. The problem there is that I also went big on Jonathan Taylor and Swift, so all my Dalvin Cook shares were just destroyed by them. It was really ugly to have to look at Dalvin Cook in my tournament lineups with that 50 burger and also with some DK Metcalf in the mix, and just feeling so good about what that could have looked like if I didn't go so hard on Jonathan Taylor and DeAndre Swift. But decided to go with Kamara because of the game script, and he outscored Henry, but I should have really dropped off Hunt. That would have completely changed my lineups, though, which may not have been a bad thing. I would have gotten off Lockett in that case, and I would have played some other lower end guys at receiver, which would have helped me get a better score. But I can't complain. I cashed all my double ups, and I won most of my head to heads, probably 2/3. Or more of my head-to-head, so I can't really complain. I would have taken home a few more head-to-heads. That would have been nice, but it wouldn't have had a drastic effect. I mean, cash was successful for me. And you can see one of the biggest reasons why my defense, the Dolphins' defense, scored 23 points. I was so hyped when I watched them recover that fumble, run it into the end zone. I knew I had them in a lot of my lineups this week, and they just continued to perform. 2 sacks, 2 interceptions, 2 DFR. What is DFR? Defensive fumble recovery. That's right. 2 defensive touchdowns, which was huge. I think they got an interception for a touchdown as well. This is why you pay down for defense. It's why you don't have to pay up for defense, for one, because they're so volatile. So it's really the one thing that really keeps things competitive in DFS, if we want to be honest about it, because it's the hardest thing to predict. And it's the one thing that keeps, these sharks from really taking all of our money. So that's my cash lineup. I mean, I had some good spots. I had some fails, but it was enough to get me a score of 123.86, which, allowed me to cash in the big double up, in all the double ups I played, and in most of my head-to-heads. So I'm going to do a cash show. Because I've mentioned this before, a lot of people don't play cash. They don't take cash seriously. I didn't for the longest time. I mean, this is, just sort of kind of embracing it the way it should be embraced. But I'm going to do a cash lineup, not a lineup, like a cash strategy show in case you're wanting to get into cash games to sort of, show how, at least my process, if you want to. And I've been pretty successful since I started playing cash, and that might be a little bit on the lucky side, considering, hey, the Dolphins' defense. But I want to show you my process if you want to, because when I didn't really know how to play cash, what the right plays were, what, game selection. Should I be playing double up? Should I be playing 50-50? Should I be playing head-to-heads? Head-to-heads seemed so low ROI for me. I was like, why do I want to pay? I'm either going to pay $10 to play a head-to-head, and that seems worth it, because if I win, I'll win 20. But these people who play $10, I can't afford to lose, $10 and not have the risk $10 for 20 for only 20. Am I making sense? I don't know. It was just weird. I was like, I don't want to do that. I'd rather pay $10 in a tournament and have the option to win $20,000. But there are ways to get around it. We'll talk about that more. Just keep your eye out for the cash show coming. Maybe I'll get it in sometime this week, but make sure to follow us on YouTube. Actually, I am going to specifically make that a YouTube. It's YouTube exclusive. So if you're a podcast person, you haven't gone over to the YouTube channel, go over and subscribe, click the notification bell, click all, so that you will get notified every time we release a video. And I'm sorry to do that to you podcast people, but I got to get more traction over the YouTube. So exclusive content over there. Hey, it's still free. It's not on, it's not on Patreon yet. I'm not selling anything yet. So get the free stuff while you can. But I'm going to make you go to YouTube to get that content. I will let you know when it's out, by the way. Let's look at the top cash lineup. Patrick Mahomes, DJ Dallas, Myles Gaskin, DK Metcalf, Brandon Ayuk, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Gerald Everett, and the Dolphins defense. Now, this is a phenomenal lineup. It was in no way kind of the template that a lot of people were talking about. And, of course, you can go a number of different ways and say, like, oh, yeah, like you say that it's the wrong build, but it literally was the highest scoring in the massive $25 double-up. And, I think that's definitely – look, this is a decently built lineup. We didn't really know if DJ Dallas was going to get that work. At least I didn't see I wasn't sure if, like, Travis Homer was going to be the guy or if DJ Dallas was. I know DJ Dallas has really struggled with pass blocking, so I really didn't think they would rely on him as much as they did. But, yeah, and then that was probably a late pivot. I assumed – that this guy probably made that move. At one point when I was tinkering with my cash lineups, I had I was like, all right, I guess I'm just gonna let like Kamara go, and I'm gonna put in DJ Dallas, or no, actually I was gonna put in Travis Homer with a possible pivot to Tevin Coleman if Homer didn't play. I thought it was gonna be Homer getting that work, and if that was the case, if Chris Carson was going to be out, which he was, I thought Homer was going to be a nice play at 4K. I did not go that route. I decided to not mess with that and just stick to the running backs who I really wanted. But, Myles Gaskin, too cheap for this week, but certainly wasn't mentioned as a cash play. And he didn't really, he got there with 14 points. Metcalf, Ayuk, that was a nice little correlation there, which you don't always have to correlate with cash. You just want to kind of play the guys in the best spots, but both of these guys were in good spots. So playing Tyreek Hill and Kelce together, that is definitely risky. Like, see, that's what I mean about this isn't the typical, this is not like the optimal build. Like, this is not the lineup you should have built. This guy, Kris Fa, whatever you want to call him, he kind of got lucky. And you look at the Chiefs, like a high-powered offense going up against the Jets, and you could say, like, well, why is that luck? It's just taking two skill players against the worst, one of the worst teams in the NFL. But Hill and Kelce don't correlate together. For one, on one side, you don't have to correlate in cash. But two, you don't want to be anti-correlative. And typically these guys don't correlate together unless they score, as much as they did. They only scored 35. That's actually surprising. I was going to say unless the team scores over 50, which I thought they did. But, a lot of concentrated, it really wasn't concentrated. I mean, Robinson got in on the mix. Hardman got in on the mix. But I guess it was just, Hill and Kelce just got enough. Hill got in the end zone twice. Almost got 100 yards and got that receiving bonus. Kelce gets over 100 yards and a touchdown. So, hey, it worked out for him, but not quite the optimal build. Gerald Everett, like nobody was playing Gerald Everett. And especially at 3,700, there were much better plays on the slate than playing Gerald Everett, your tight end spot. But anyway, I don't want to sound like a hater. I know I probably do to some of you, but if you are taking risks in cash games is not something you want to do, because if that risk fails, you're ultimately going to lose. But if you are following the optimal builds, which a lot of people are, this guy had, like, most likely, he could have had a 6v6 with someone in his head-to-heads because they have 6 different players. Most cash games, when you're playing head-to-heads, you're playing 1v1s, 2v2s, 3v3s because you've rostered, 5, 6 of the same players oftentimes because you play the best plays that make the most sense, who are in the best spots. Not the optimal build, but hey, sometimes you get there. I'm not a hater, I promise. I swear. Like, I will take my L's. when they come, but I'm just talking about being optimal, like following the numbers. Like that's where I'm going to lean more than anything. All right, 20 minutes talking about cash games. That's a lot. So let's move on to we're going to look at Results DB over here on Roto Grinders, and we are looking at Hishbu and Utica, two of the top 10 players in DFS, specifically NFL. Here are your rankings, and these are NFL rankings. You can find these over on Roto Grinders. Why will it not let me move my screen? Okay, well, we're not going to look at the rankings there. You can see their accomplishments, but you can't see over here who it is. All right, we're not even going to do that because we are running behind in time. Hishbu had a pretty good week over here. He at least made his money back in a little. He didn't hit big or anything, but he is one of the top players according to Roto Grinders when it comes to NFL. And I just want to look and show what kind of moves people are making in these super large field tournaments. I mean, this tournament is got over 200,000 people in it. If not more, this might be a 400,000 person tournament. So the type of moves that some of these players who are winning big make, and you can see his most owned guy was Hunter Renfrow. Not the play that I would have made, but he got 12 points. So that wasn't. Why don't they show their salaries? That's stupid. He went way in on Alvin Kamara. A little bit above the field on Kareem Hunt. He was there on Keenan Allen. So he still played the best plays. Mims was popular, so he went way above the field on Mims, way above the field on Kamara, way above the field on Gaskin. Defense we're not really going to talk about. So he was there on a lot of the like cash game type guys, but he put Hunter Renfrow in 60% of his lineups. So if Hunter Renfrow hit, he was certainly going to make the difference. Who else did he play that was super low owned? He went big, or he went above the field on DeAndre Swift, which certainly didn't pay off. He went, under the field on Jamal Williams. He decided that Jamal Williams was going to fail, so he definitely picked some guys. Derrick Henry. He went under the field on Derrick Henry as well. But I mean, basically, like you just look through here, and these are guys people were playing. I mean, cash game guys: Kamara, Mims, Hunt, Keenan Allen, Travis Kelce. Even I don't know if Kelce was like tops in cash, but he was still a good play. Whether it's a kind of cash game builds or single entry, 3-entry max builds, like all these guys were in consideration for that. He just went big on Hunter Renfrow. Is there a guy he went big on? I mean, I'm trying to look for like another. I guess he went big on Swift as well. So, maybe in 60% of his lineups, his one pivot was Renfrow, and, maybe his other pivot was DeAndre Swift. Maybe these guys overlapped. I don't know. But, he's one of the best players in the world at NFL DFS, and I just want you to kind of see how he's building lineups in a 20 max form. And the reason I'm doing 20 max is because, like I mentioned, probably a lot of people who listen to this most of the people are either probably beginners or average players who've just been playing for 5 years and have just, been grinding, trying to hit. Maybe you've hit a few big ones. But you're not, I would say most people listening to this aren't 150ing the Millionaire Maker. You're not spending $3,000 to 150. So that's why I'm looking at a 20 max tournament. It costs $60 to, max enter a 20 max. So that's why we're kind of looking at this to see, to kind of see what the builds look like. Maybe in the future we'll look at some 150s because, we're us mid-stakes players, or I don't know if you call us small stakes or mid-stakes, but we can afford to, throw 150 max the mini max, $75 to get 150 lineups in that. So maybe we'll take a look at that to see, how people break that down. But across the board, really, let's look at it from position by position. He basically went, he had 9 quarterbacks in 2 of his lineups. He had, or 20% of his lineups, he went Matt Stafford, and then he just went 10% on everybody else, giving him, 2. So that would have put him at 4 Matt Staffords and 2 of the rest. 2 Joe Burrow, 2 Herbert, 2 Wilson, Mahomes, Carr, Mayfield, Tua, and Cam Newton. He did not roster Jimmy Garoppolo. There's a big, that's huge. Probably why he, won a little money back. He did not. Let's see, where did he score? Well, that's not really. Let's not even mess with that. Let's just keep an eye on who he did and did not play. So he faded a lot of these win quarterbacks. Rodgers, Tannehill, Lamar Jackson didn't have the best weather. Josh Allen, but he went big. It's weird. He went big on Stafford, left Rivers out. I mean, I get it. Rivers is not, typically a tournament winning quarterback. He did have a good day though, with 22 points, and I realized on YouTube you can't even see that far down. That's okay. Let's look at Uticow now and see what he did as opposed to Hisbu, who rostered. Oh, wait a minute. Let's look at all the positions. Where he went big on Hunter Renfrow at 60%, Kamara at 55%, Denzel Mims at 50%, Josh Jacobs at 45%, Myles Gaskin at 40%, Titans defense at 40%. Uticow did he went like way above the field on one guy, which was Kareem Hunt, 85%, and then pretty much had more of a balance throughout. Like you can see, he's got 40% Alvin Kamara, 35% Jonathan Taylor, 35% Denzel Mims, 30% Tyreek Hill. He had some Gaskin, still over the field, but not as much as Hishbu, but kind of just spread things out a little more. And I'm trying to see where they really dropped off as far as players go, but I can't really tell from here. I'd have to export this to a spreadsheet to see how many players each of them played. But I don't know if you can really see much from this. I just wanted to kind of study a few guys, and it just goes to show like two different scenarios where Uticow, he is the number 1 player in NFL DFS, by the way. He went with the best plays here, and Kareem Hunt, Jamal Williams, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor. Still not like one of the obvious guys, but he was still a popular tournament play. He was 14% owned here. Like, where did he really get different? T.Y. Hilton is who he went big on here. Like he was 6% owned. He went in 35% on T.Y. Hilton. Or sorry, T.Y. Hilton was 4% owned, went in 30%. Who else was super low owned? Kenny Golladay at 5%, Hunter Henry at 5%, went, quadruple the field on them. I went big on Jerry Jeudy at 1%. So he's taking a lot of guys who are in the 1 to 5% range and making sure that he's getting, 3 or 4 shares of these guys. So 2 different sort of scenarios and plays when it comes to maxing a 20-entry tournament. We'll get better at kind of analyzing this stuff, and maybe stuff will pop out more in the future. All right, let's move over to Underdog and talk about Underdog Fantasy. Here is these are my results. I played 6 teams on Underdog, and I made my money back, and I won some money here. If I could just adjust this screen, that would be so much better. Okay, there we go. That's working. I think I figured out what I was doing wrong. So I drafted 6 teams. I came in 16th in the big tournament. And this is a top heavy tournament, and so getting 16th isn't. I only won $50. But overall, I think my strategy was pretty good. I only did not cash on 2 of them. So let's look at my And my best team, my winning team here, is actually, man, I had a couple huge roadblocks. So I had Patrick Mahomes, had Dalvin Cook. I had, wait a minute, this is not me. That is not my team. That is not my team. What is going on here? Why is it not showing my team? Here's my team. Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, there you go. The DFS sweat. That's my name over there. Patrick Mahomes, 36 points. Dalvin Cook, who went off. DK Metcalf, Brandon Ayuk. Oh, but I had Justin Jefferson, and I drafted this team early before we really sort of knew about the wind issues. I thought Justin Jefferson might have a big day here, and then I took Jimmy Graham with my last pick. It's sort of an off the board pick. And it didn't pay off. Jimmy Graham dropped so many balls yesterday. I swear. If he would have just caught, let's just look at the leaderboard for this tournament overall. If I can figure out how to get back there. Still, trying to learn how to navigate this this thing over here on Underdog. It's not. All right, let's look at. Here I am in 16th place. I don't think I would have, won any more money. 43. I would have needed more than 5 catches to get up to 10th, where I would have made $100. But yeah, he just dropped so many balls and just those catches. This is actually half point PPR, so it really wouldn't have done anything. But it was still upsetting me that he was just not catching anything. So you can see how top heavy this is. I mean, just jumping from 10th where you get $100 to first where you get $4,000 is huge. Let's look at the number one lineup. Patrick Mahomes, 36 points. Dalvin Cook, 47. DK Metcalf, 34. Tyreek Hill, 23. Brandon Ayuk, 19. And Travis Kelce, 20. This was a perfectly drafted lineup. Obviously, took home first. And I was really touting Brandon Ayuk there, and clearly that was his last pick. And I was picking Brandon Ayuk wherever I could with my last pick. I just really liked the spot against Seattle. And, that's just one thing that you need to do to try to help separate yourself is with that last pick or even last 2 picks, really go off the board and grab guys. I mean, this is just like playing. This is just like playing DraftKings. You in a tournament where you're playing over 4,000 people and you're playing the snake draft game. And you're going off ADP, especially. Even if you're using your own, you're still probably picking the top plays. I mean, it's not like you're not going to take, a Kareem Hunt, even though he didn't. It's not like he's going to go undrafted. He's going to be owned in every single lineup, at least every single group of drafts that you do. Not every single lineup. But basically, you draft with 6 guys, and then your whole draft gets put into, a contest with other guys. So you need to not only beat the guys in your draft, you need to beat other drafters as well. And Brandon Ayuk was not popping up in the ADPs. If you were to just draft strictly by ADP and their point projections, Ayuk was not going to be drafted. But smart people kind of reach for someone in a good position who was not going to be drafted. You could wait on him to the very end, and he made the difference in a lot of people's lineups. He didn't until the very end because, man, for a while he wasn't doing much. But there in the fourth quarter at the end, he caught a touchdown late, and that made the difference. So that's kind of the strategy here, and we'll talk more about that going forward when we look at next week's contest. We are going to look at tonight's contest over here on Underdog. And sorry, I'm trying to maneuver my screen where it makes sense. These are my rankings for Underdog tonight. They're very different than the standard rankings, but I've got Mike Evans 1. Ronald Jones 2, Scotty Miller 3, Rob Gronkowski 4, Leonard Fournette 5th. I basically moved all Tampa Bay guys to the top. Like, I want as many Tampa Bay players as I can get, even if they're not projecting as well. What's this kid's name? Right here, Darius Slayton is projecting to have 10 points. He's projected by Underdog to be the third highest scoring guy on the team. And that's fine. He may very well be. He's, positioned right here in their rankings right after Ronald Jones. But, I mean, Tampa Bay's defense is really good. And I'm going to try to differentiate myself. I don't see the New York Giants scoring a lot of points here. They may get a touchdown or two, but I want to bank on the fact that if they get a touchdown, it's not going to be Slayton. Now, he's a very talented receiver, but he's going to get their best corner. And actually, Sterling Shepard, if we want to look at, so this is a tool. I don't have it at my disposal, but the cornerback wide receiver matchup tool over on Roto-Grinders is a great tool to look at. If you want to, actually, I think I might have it. Yeah, I do have it right here. Let's go over here. Let's move this around. I know. This is not like super professional because I'm like moving screens all over the place. But if you look at that, Sterling Shepard actually has the best matchup, and by quite a bit. You got Darius Slayton, who's going to mostly garner. I mean, both Carlton Davis and Jamal Dean. I don't know if this is 100%. These guys might move around, but it looks like Sterling Shepard could have the best matchup if Sean Murphy Bunting is the guy to stick on him. And that's what Roto-Grinder says is probably going to happen. So, and it has nothing to do with that matchup. My point is on here is trying to get a team that looks different than everybody else's team. Because right here, you're only drafting flex guys to begin with. So if you are drafting guys outside of their ADP, your team's going to look a lot different, and if that hits, you're most likely going to vault up to the top. You're going to get clustered a lot with teams like other teams are going to draft very similar to your team, and you only get 4 guys. Like, how many overlaps do you think they're going to be? Probably a lot. So I'm trying to get as many Tampa Bay guys as I can. I don't want to go overboard on the receivers, maybe take 2. But yeah, Mike Evans up top. I mean, he's going to get the targets. He's going to see some Bradbury. So if you wanted to take Ronald Jones first, I wouldn't hate that. Although you do have Leonard Fournette kind of competing in the mix. So my tiers go like this. Like, I definitely want to try to get 2 of Mike Evans, Ronald Jones, Scotty Miller, Gronkowski, and Leonard Fournette. That's preferably what I would like. And then I want probably just 1 New York Giant because I don't think they can score that many points. So I have Wayne Gallman. He's going to touch the ball the most. He not only carries the ball, but he also gets catches, and he's projected to get less points than Sterling Shepard, less points than Evan Ingram, less points than Darius Slayton. But I think he's going to touch. I mean, he's the running back. He's going to see the most touches, most likely. I mean, I know Tampa Bay's got a stellar run defense, but I just want this guy who just needs one thing to go his way. If he breaks one long run, that's really all he needs, or if he catches more passes than people think he will. I've got Wayne Gallman as the Giant that I want. If I don't get him, Sterling Shepard or Evan Ingram, just because I just think that passing on Slayton when a lot of people early on are going to take him, and then that means if they're taking Slayton, they're not getting, they're probably, depending on where they pick, they're not going to have 2 of these guys most likely that you want because they wasted that pick on Slayton. And it's just, that right there makes your team a lot different. I would rather take my Giant in the 3rd round where I get one of these guys, Evan Ingram. I mean, if Slayton falls to me at that point, I'd take him, but I doubt it. But Gallman, Shepard, Ingram, Slayton if he falls to me there. And then I want my 4th player to be a Buccaneer because I think guys like Tyler Johnson, Justin Watson, they could make a difference. Cameron Brate, who's probably going to go undrafted in this just because he projects outside of the number of players that will be drafted. There are 12 overall players who get drafted in this. There's no quarterbacks. If you're wondering why we're not talking about quarterback, I should have mentioned that early on, but there are no quarterbacks in the single game slate. And that's basically because you're drafting with, you're drafting with 3 guys and there's only 2 quarterbacks, so it kind of doesn't make it fair. It's just you're playing skill position players. I think Underdog's got a little bit of work to do here with this format. I mean, single game formats are becoming very popular, but I would say that adding in some multipliers for some of these guys, or even just allowing you to take 2 of the same player, like if there were 2 Mike Evans and 2 Ronald Jones in this mix, why can't a guy double up on one player, similar to like a flash draft situation? It's like sometimes you take, Mike Evans in a flash draft in round 1, and then he pops up again later at 1.5 with a 1.5 multiplier, and then you just double down. You take him again. So whether you start with just like guys like Mike Evans, Ronald Jones, Scotty Miller, Gronkowski, who are projected to have good games anyway, you just leave them alone. But once you start getting in the Tyler Johnson, Watson, Cameron Brate, this kind of area down here, maybe you give those guys multipliers. So it makes it a little tougher of a decision. So you either do that or you add like just double, have 2 Mike Evans and guys can take 2 Mike Evans, or you have a Mike Evans regular and then you have a Mike Evans multiplier. There's a number of ways to do this so that rosters look a little bit different, more strategy comes into play. So I mean, Underdog is their first year in business. I love what they do. I love their product. It's going to become much more, a much bigger part of my content that I do, because there's so much out there with DraftKings that I definitely want to focus on Underdog a lot more. Both I want to make it more a part of my content, and I want to make it more a part of my weekly play, because I think there's leverage here, especially early on while people don't know how to take advantage of it. And hey, I'm just saying, like, I played 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I put $30 in this pool. I won 86. I basically tripled my money over here on Underdog because there is leverage to be had. I mentioned that we might try to jump in the Battle Royal, Bucks and Giants. You can't see it on my screen. There we go. There it is. Let's jump in. There's 1.3 spots open. It's a $7 entry. Looks like they pay $1,500 to first, $1,000 to second, $500 to third, on down the line. So let's see if we can get in. Let's see if we're only waiting on one person here. Where are my rankings? Why aren't my rankings in here? What's going on? I don't understand this. Yeah, these are not my rankings. So let me just start sticking guys in the flex. So Mike Evans, I'm going to put him in in the queue. Mike Evans, Ronald Jones. We were skipping Slayton. I love Scotty Miller, man. I just, especially with Godwin out, I think he's going to be a great play. Again, with Godwin being out, you come down here. This is why I want like a Tyler Johnson or a Justin Watson, because they're going to be competing for that number 3 spot. And they're down here basically on the borderline of not even being drafted. So that's why I like getting one of them, maybe even Cameron Brate, who's going to, he gets pushed aside when Godwin is in the mix. But when Godwin is out of the mix, I think he's going to be much more in play. So we got them, Gronk, Fournette. Yeah, I just definitely want 2 of these guys if possible. I want Wayne Gallman over any other Giant. Sterling Shepard, who got a lot of targets last week. Let's see if we can. Do they show that on here? They don't show targets on these player cards. But I think he got like 8 targets last week. All right, come on. We're only waiting for one. Let's go. Let's get in here. Somebody jump in. If we were doing this live, we had enough people to watch us live, we could maybe pull someone in that way. So Gallman, Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram. Now I'll throw in Darius Slayton. And look, I get it. Like, Slayton's got a big ceiling. Like, if he hits it, he could easily surpass all these guys. But I'm trying to be different. There's really nothing when you're competing against a large group of people, which, it was just like, what was there, like 1,500 in this? That's still a decent amount when there's such a small pool of players to choose from, just like in a showdown. I mean, everyone's going to land on the same pieces, and you're not playing for floor, you're playing for ceiling. So that's why I've got Slayton down here, and I am I'm letting him go. I'm letting him drop. Let's see, Tyler Johnson. We're gonna put Watson in there. I'm right back to like wanting to get my my Tampa Bay guys in the end here, putting in Golden Tate. I don't know if this is exactly matching my my rankings that I did. It might be a little off, but that's okay. I basically know my general strategy. It's get two bucks that are Mike Evans, Ronald Jones, Scotty Miller, Gronkowski. All right, we got our third guy. Just waiting to see where we fall in line. Yeah, Gronk, Fournette. I want two of those guys. All right, we're picking third, which I really like because that means that I am able to get two of these guys because I get back-to-back picks. I may not get my first, two choices, but that's okay. I think I have everybody in who I would consider picking. If you want to go way off the board, a guy like CJ Board, might get in the mix there in New York, but or even where is this guy? Who is he? I don't know. All right, draft starts in 25 seconds. All right, I'm going to start thinking about my strategy. I'm assuming Evans is going to go first. Ronald Jones is going to go second. So that means I pretty much need to pick two from Scotty Miller, Gronkowski, or Fournette. I'm probably going to take Fournette because my goal is with my very last pick to hopefully get either Justin Watson or Tyler Johnson down here. And I don't want three receivers. I don't want, I don't know Gronk's a tight end, but three pass catchers. So number one, he takes Ronald Jones. I assume number two is going to take Mike Evans. Man, if he took Darius Slayton, I would be extremely thrilled. Or even if he took he could take Fournette. I wouldn't mind having three receivers if one of them were Mike Evans. Oh, he took Scotty Miller. He's banking on the fact that Robinson is going to be on. Or not Robinson. James Bradbury is going to be on Mike Evans, which he is. But dude, this guy is going to get targets. He's shown to be like a red zone threat. I will definitely take Mike Evans. And I'm gonna take Leonard Fournette. I'm hoping he's gonna get some. Receptions. You can see last game he got 6 receptions, and they're using him starting to use him a little bit like they used him last year in wherever he played, that other Florida team, Jacksonville. Sterling Shepard goes off the board. Gronkowski goes off the board. There goes Slayton. Now, if this falls right, I'm going to get Wayne Gallman, and I'm going to be extremely happy here. He's the one giant that I want. And if I have to get Ingram, that'll be fine. Oh, he took Wayne Gallman. Okay, that's fine. I'll take Ingram in his short routes, his lowest ADOT ever. Let's see. Just make sure that's what I want to do. Yeah, I'm going to take Ingram. And I love having the third pick here because that means I don't have to risk, what these guys are going to do. Justin Watson, Tyler Johnson, Cameron Brate, it's tough. Like, any of these guys could find their way. Oh, man. Tyler Johnson's projected for more, but I feel like Justin Watson might be the guy. I will go ahead and take Tyler Johnson here. I need to look into those two more and decide which one I like more. I feel like Justin Watson at first was the 3, kind of when Godwin went down the first time, but then Watson got hurt. So then here comes Tyler Johnson. So does Tyler Johnson still holding that spot there? I don't know. Let's look at our team. This couldn't have worked out much better at all. Mike Evans, Leonard Fournette. I got 2 pieces, 2 of those early pieces on Tampa that I wanted. One who they both played completely different roles. I didn't get the giant I wanted. I was one pick away from getting him, and then I got a guy like Tyler Johnson late. This is phenomenal. I love this. I love this build. So, all right, that's going to do it for our show today. Running a little long. Hope this all made sense. Hope it was all helpful. If any of it was confusing, if any of it was not helpful, please let me know. Hit me up on Twitter at the DF_sweat. Send us an email if you want to do that. The dailyfantasysweat@gmail.com. Make sure you're following us on YouTube at the Daily Fantasy Sweat. All that good stuff. Ratings and reviews over on the podcast, Google, Spotify, iTunes. All right, that's it. Goodbye for now. And as always, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. May all your fantasy dreams come true.